So my name is Sandile Manzini. I am the Assistant Director for Admissions and Recruitment at the Rutgers School of Social Work. I take great pleasure in being an alumni of the Rutgers MSW program with a specialization in management and policy. I graduated in 2017. Today, I have the pleasure of moderating this panel discussion. We are joined by several distinguished panelists from diverse professional fields, all of whom have generously dedicated their time to share their experiences and insights on the many career paths available as management and policy alumni. I want to sincerely thank everyone again for joining and sharing today. Before we start, please mute your microphones if you haven't yet. You can still send in questions via the chat box, and we will also set aside time at the end of the discussion to address any remaining questions you may have to make the best use of our time. And so you can hear more about the incredible work of our panelists are doing. I'll introduce everyone by their current role and share their full bios in the Zoom chat for everyone to reference. So today we are joined by Jasmine Acevedo, who is a bilingual domestic and sexual violence counselor and case manager at 180 Turning Lives Around, Inc. Heather Escalona Benitez, who is the Senior Assistant Director of the Rutgers Scarlet Service Internship Program. We have Dr. Jillian Kaufman, is the founder and lead psychotherapist of Wavelength Psychotherapy. Dr. Michael Kaufman is the founder and managing director at Premier Education Partners and author and the executive director of Special Education School at High Point School of Bergen County. We have Dr. Simone Snyder, who is the assistant teaching professor and director of the Certificate of Interpersonal Violence and Trauma at Rutgers School of Social Work. We have Nerlandi Thurlonge, who is the CEO of Unfragmented Care, a private psychotherapy practice, a mental health professional at Robert Wood Johnson Barnabas, Newark Beth Israel Outpatient Behavioral Health, and an overnight program coordinator at the University Behavioral Health Care at Newark Psychiatric Emergency Screening Services, and a registered nurse. We also have Justin Winfrey, who is the Passaic County Overdose Fatality Review Team Coordinator. And our final panelist, Adrian Zapia, is a school social worker on the Child Study Team. So I'd like to thank you all again for being here today. For this session, we'll spend approximately 10 minutes on each question. Since we have 8 distinguished panelists, we'll keep responses brief to ensure we have enough time at the end for our audience questions and discussion. So without further ado, which of one of our esteemed panelists would like to kick us off?
I could always start.
Okay, Jasmine, great. Thank you. So what drew you to the management and policy specialization, and how did you know it was the right fit for your goals?
For me, it kind of fell on my lap, honestly. It was just basically the job that I had previous to this one that the coordinator was telling me, "Oh, you're pretty good at this." And I'm like, "I'm just doing my job. Like I don't understand any of it. I didn't understand social work. I didn't understand management policy or clin. I had no idea that this ever existed." Until I decided to speak with other interns that were interning at Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office, where I used to work at. And by picking their brain, they were like, "Oh, yeah, social work is this and that." I'm like, let me figure it out. And then I realized like I couldn't do the whole one on one clinical stuff. And I like to debate. So I like to learn. I like to know why things function the way that they do. I want to know why it was created, why we needed it. So immediately I already knew at that point that map was the way to go. 7 years later, I still feel the same way. I think now I debate much more wisely, where before it was like all emotion. Now it's like more passion than emotion, I guess, if that makes sense. So now it's basically where I need to be because I already knew then that map was the way to go. and I love policy. I want to know why we live the way that we live, like who created this law, and I wanted to, like rebuttal it, like why. So that's how the reason why I chose it, and I still like it. I don't know about clinical, but I still like my map.
Great, thank you. Any other panelists want to join in?
Happy to jump in. I was a bit of a lost soul after undergrad. I graduated with a degree in criminal justice and criminology. I took the LSATs. I wanted to be a human rights attorney. I even considered forensic psychology at John Jay. I'd already been working in nonprofits as a program assistant and a volunteer coordinator, and an MSW just felt like a synergistic next step. But the catch was I really couldn't picture myself in direct practice. And joke's on me because I am now in direct practice and own my own private practice. But at the time, the problems I cared most about weren't happening in the therapeutic space. They were happening in board meetings, in budget lines, in the way policy is written. Direct practice felt very limiting. So when I found the MAP track, after tons of research, something clicked, right? My weird resume, my winding resume finally had a place to land. And I truly believe that careers aren't truly formulaic anymore. You may not always know your perfect fit job right off the bat, especially coming right out of undergrad. No path is linear. It's why the dots only connect when you're looking backward. And the MAP curriculum gave me room to figure out my next steps and build transferable skills at the same time that I could take with me and apply across multiple industries and not just the public sector. And I could also still keep the door open for my LCSW.
I can go next. So when I applied to the MSW program, I knew right off the bat that I wanted to do management and policy because I was really looking for this bridge between the work that I was already doing on the ground and then the systems that I wanted to change. I did not do an undergraduate in social work. I came to social work through birth work and violence prevention, and I was constantly seeing how policy decisions, funding structures, organizational practices were shaping people's lived experiences, especially for survivors and birthing people who were navigating harm. And so I knew that MAP was the right fit because I didn't want to just continue to provide direct support. I really wanted to understand how to shift the conditions that were creating the need for that support in the first place. And MAP gave me the language and tools to think more critically about these systems, how they function, how policy is created, and where, there are opportunities for intervention, advocacy, and transformation.
I can
Hi.
go. Oh,
Oh, go
sorry,
ahead.
whoever said that, you can go first.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone, I'm Nerlandi. So I've came into the program because I've always been drawn to touching individual at a macro level. I wanted to make changes in policy and affect a wide range of client at the same time. So at the time I was working, my background is in social work. I did undergraduate in social work at Rutgers. So when I was transitioning to my master's, I did the accelerated program, being that I was already working in a long-term care facility as a director of social work in social service. So it was natural to me to continue along that path and pursue my master's in MAP when I found out about this program, to continue and to work and achieve this goal of, affecting as many people as I can touch at once. Later on in life, Michael found me because now I am in LCSW and I do run a private practice, but I also have, the opportunity to apply everything that I've learned in this program, whether it's strategic planning, writing grant in my private practice, but also overnight in my position now at Rutgers in the UBHC, I am the manager of the overnight program, and I can see how, these skills that I've learned throughout my time in the program has been invaluable toward my career, whether I'm doing individual work one-on-one with client or in a managerial position.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I sort of have that Oprah mentality of do what you love and the money will come or success will come. And I loved working with kids, and that's where it started for me. So I'd recommend to anybody if you're gonna go into leadership, that's great, but perfect your craft in the social work field with whatever group you love working with. Mine was kids and families. And I just realized we could have a caseload of 30 kids. I could be a social worker and have 30 kids. And then when I realized, wow, I can have a caseload of all the kids in all the schools and a caseload of all the staff. I just wanted to make a bigger impact. So I ended up, starting a school for, kids with special needs and ended up running about 80 of them. We grew the business to about $100 million, and I dealt with private equity and everything. And what I love is being a social worker, even though I've done so much on the business end. What's worked for me is the social work skills that we learned. And what I love the most is a lot of people call what our skills are the soft skills. We're great listeners. We're great communicators. We can do crisis management. And a lot of people on the business end will call those the soft things and not the tough stuff, like reading a profit and loss statement. And I beg to differ. I think that our skills are the tough skills, the strong skills. And that's why I think we're really amazing at leading people, listening. When things go good or bad, we don't change. So I just feel that if you have a little bit of a heart of the social worker and a mind of someone in business, and you can combine those, you can be really powerful.
Great, thank you. Adrian?
Yes. So I worked at a nonprofit for almost 10 years, and I really saw, how the nonprofit operated and, how they mostly I worked with clients with disabilities. I've been in special needs for almost 13 years, and I really saw how they, put the needs of the clients first. And that was, important to me. So I researched, that because I wasn't really sure, going into the MSW, what I wanted to do, to be honest, but so that's why I kind of chose that route. I did my internship with Rain and learning about, policy with them through the National Sexual Assault Line. I just went recently to Washington with them to do the Congressional Day of Action. So just learning about policy, learning about nonprofit. When I graduated, I wasn't sure where I wanted to go, so I applied at hospitals. I applied at different things, and I landed as a school social worker on the child study team, still with special needs. And I case manage about 85 to 90 kids currently in the fifth and sixth grade. So having that specialization really helped me to kind of hone in on, the area that I wanted to focus on. And it's helped me in my daily activities, of case managing the IEPs, managing the teachers, managing the parents, and just kind of bringing that all together and then dealing with the administration, the vice principal, the principal. So it's helped me to kind of, open up a whole new world, as far as that goes. And then if I ever did want to continue with Rain and go the policy route, I know that that's open as well. So I feel like there's a very wide variety of options, available to you with that specialization.
Great, thank you.
Thanks.
Justin?
Everyone can hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So with me, it was interesting because when I went to Rutgers, I went for my bachelor's in psychology, and in between and during that, I've had opportunities to work with many wonderful individuals with different programs, activities, internship, and I did an internship at New Brunswick Middle School, and that alongside doing the Rutgers Alternative Breaks program, it kind of got me into realizing that what I want to really do is to help the general public because it kind of gave me like that more vision as to the real world issues that people deal with. And it's different when what you hear on like the news, media versus like seeing it up front in your face. It gives you a new perspective, and that perspective really made me want to go into this field. And I spoke to the person that oversaw my internship progress, and I kind of asked her, how should I go about that? Because just having a psychology degree ain't enough. So I just wanted to get some direction as to where should I go with it. And she pretty much said, the best direction would probably be, go down social work route and just make sure you go for MAP. And I said, okay, because it made sense. And then as I went through the program for my social work degree, it all started to make sense. I did an internship the with the Highland Parks Church that helps help those who are immigrants, and as well as worked with the housing authority of Elizabeth, and that only heightened my resolve and my want to help the general populace for certain with different needs. And I met different people, heard stories from different people, and even from my current job, um, with doing outreach and meeting other organizations and people, like I learned a lot just from the experience. With the job I have, like how I got this job wasn't even conventional. I just happened to be bored one day during the pandemic and wanted to just volunteer. And that's how I met the department head, who I asked, hey, if you're looking, I'm looking for a job. If you're looking for a job, I'm willing to, join you. And she took my resume and said, oh, perfect. Okay, you're hired. And then they put me into the job of being the overdose fatality review team coordinator, which was a big ask because that's kind of was something out of my comfort zone. But it is also something I want to also instill to everybody here is the fact that even if it's outside of your comfort zone, don't be afraid to go for it. Because I really didn't want to do it at first because it felt like I was like young amongst a sea of experts who were already in this for longer than I have, and I don't know what I'm doing. But there's people there to teach you, people there to like guide you in the right direction, and also putting in the time for yourself and going, putting in that 120%. And it really got me into making the job my own. And I've been able to take it to the next level. Oversaw a lot of projects, hosted 4 conferences on it. So, hey, that has to mean something.
Thank you, thank you. And for our last participant for this question, Heather.
Thank you. So I did my undergrad in communications, and similar to Jill, I felt really lost after undergrad. I landed in nonprofit HR and operations, and I really enjoyed the social justice space that I was in, but I just didn't feel like I was in the right role. And I worked with a team of social workers in that job who really encouraged me to look into social work. And I realized through some of that research that I really had an interest in shaping policy and being a part of the legislative process, and also like being able to shape larger narratives around issues that I really cared about. And I found that really exciting. And so I came to Rutgers and chose Rutgers because of the MAP specialization. Um, and I was really drawn to work that was a little bit more behind the scenes, but still had a tangible, meaningful impact. And I think that's because I'm just like a very organized and detail-oriented person, and I really enjoy creating systems and also developing resources to support others. So it was kind of like this blend of like program coordination and a little bit of policy, and then blending that with my skill set. And that all kind of drew me into the MAP specialization.
Great, thank you. So let's move on to our next question. What does a typical week look like in your current role, and how does your social work background shape the way you lead or manage? We'll pass this to Dr. Snyder.
Okay. So no 2 weeks look exactly the same for me, which I love. In my current role, I'm practicing different things like program leadership, teaching, mentorship, partnership development, research, and also still doing like a lot of administrative and service work. And so that may look like meeting with community agencies about practicum placements, like many of you who are running agencies, supporting students as they navigate like these really heavy trauma-related placements and coursework, teaching courses, reviewing applications for the certificate program, which is never ending, managing program logistics, communication, doing all these different kinds of things. Of course, working collaboratively with other certificate directors, program development. We have to evaluate all the work that we're doing. And also, collaborating on these larger strategic initiatives across the university. Still doing a lot of research, mostly related to interpersonal violence and trauma in college settings, and still trying to find the time to do research on projects that I'm passionate about. So, mostly at the intersections of reproductive justice and power-based violence. I think I really love this position and management and policy more broadly because it allows me to move between sort of practice, research, teaching, and always, of course, this like systems level thinking in a way that feels really interconnected. I mentioned service. I'm on the senior leadership team at the Center for Research on Ending Violence. So doing a lot of that kind of work. And so when we have to do service, we do it sort of like in our little entities, so at Rev Center, but also with the School of Social Work, and then with some of the larger initiatives around Rutgers University, again, mostly focusing on interpersonal violence and harm. Um, I think one thing that I think is really important for students to think about is, I graduated May 2018. By September 2018, I was leading a multi-million dollar project at Rutgers. And that meant, again, focusing on expanding and how we prevent and respond to campus interpersonal violence. But I was supervising from day one, students, part-time staff, full-time staff across teams and departments. And so I think many of us think, okay, we're going to graduate and we'll slowly get into leadership positions or we'll slowly get into supervising folks. And I'm here to tell you that's not the case. So just be thinking about that. And so even if you decide, and I know we'll talk about this later, that you want to take the clinical route, that's fine. Think about how you could build in some of the management and policy, especially like supervision and the different leadership courses into your curriculum as well, because I guarantee as soon as you graduate, you're going to be, in those spaces. And then quickly, I think for many of us, probably social work has really shaped how I approach leadership. I think, in particular, the emphasis on social justice, anti-oppressive practice, systems thinking, relationship building deeply informs the work that I do and how I lead and how I supervise. I'm always thinking about power, access, voice, and of course, how do we sustain ourselves in this work? Who's being centered, who's being left out? And I think I may not have learned to ask those questions if I didn't take the management and policy track. Um, and I think, I carry a lot of those ideas and sort of building in reflection and critical consciousness into the way that I supervise and even as when I act as a mentor. But that also, I think, those sort of philosophies go beyond just supervision and leadership. Again, whether I'm mentoring students, collaborating with colleagues, developing programs, whatever it may be, I try to lead in a way that's relational, transparent, trauma informed, and of course, grounded in the core values of social work. And I learned that directly from the program.
Thank you. Thank you. I will have Jasmine.
So my day to day, never the same. Absolutely not. I can schedule my day. Oh, I'm gonna, put my caseload for today, call 5 people, and absolutely not. Like today, my day was completely in blank, but then I end up having a crisis come in. So it's just being ready and prepared to take whatever comes, right? And this is where the background really comes into play. Um, I used to work in retail for over 15 years. So that gave me the structure into quick adjust, right? Now going into social work, it gives you the mind frame to quickly adjust, not physically, but also mentally. So understanding what you're up against, how your day to day looks like. I go into crisis mode, I go into intervention, I go into case management, I go into, let's talk about your civil rights. Let's talk about your human rights. Let's talk about your legal rights. So I don't know what I'm going to do that day unless that person comes in or I'm calling that person or the person is calling me. So by being bilingual, I do have a lot of immigration stuff involved. And our program, Family Justice Center, is inside the courthouse itself. So we do have the systems and self to understand what is family division and what is superior court. So understanding all of those legalities too kind of does help in collaborating with other partners, understanding who your partners are, your community members, your other organizations within your community. I'm all up for who you know. Tell me what you can give me, what I can learn from you, because whatever I gather is the same information that I'm going to forward. And my philosophy is that I'd rather leave knowing 100% that I have taught you something new about what your rights are as a client, and understand that now you have gained something because I'm part of domestic violence agency. So everything about power and control, eliminating your support system, eliminating knowledge, eliminating everything that you have as a human being, I'm trying to give that back to you. So those clients are leaving with something. Um, so understanding everything that the program has shaped because I do have my bachelor's and master's in social work. So, yes, understanding the theories because the theories are going to help you understand why this person is behaving the way that they're behaving and why they speak the way that they speak. So, for me, I do domestic violence, sexual violence, and human trafficking. So, it's a complex of different emotions, different behaviors, interpersonal relationship, regardless if it's through a couple or family or neighbors or roommates, but it's also intergenerational that's also involved too. So it's a little bit more layered and complex. So back again, understanding the basic of social work, right? Empathy, active listening, motivational interviewing, understanding why they're so hesitant to leave or why they have fear or why things are happening. Again, going back to the first question, I want to know why of everything, right? And understanding like these policies that are in place for domestic violence, there's like at least probably 20 of them still pending that have not been passed. And one of them is for attorneys and judges to be fully trained in domestic violence training. So I'm paying attention to that one because a lot of our judges, not talking bad about judges, but like any other job, there's a turnover, right? So we have good tenured judges that understand domestic violence that tend to move on because everybody's entitled to have a different career path or retire. Then we get the newer judges that don't quite understand or takes a little bit longer to understand what domestic violence is. So this is where, you know what, the onboarding training, you know, you only as good as you are trained. That's another philosophy of mine. So for me, it's very important to educate. And if they can educate you, you can educate any type of person that you come across, regardless of what area of management policy you happen to find yourself in.
Thank you. Michael?
Yeah, I would say a typical week for me is try to make sure that my staff isn't updating their resume because they love working for me and for our business. That's my goal is that you don't even think about your resume, you don't even know where it is because I'm creating a company that you love to work for. So I would say that's something that goes across the board. And also as a leader, I try to make it look easy. That whole duck thing where you see the duck at the top looks all calm, but the feet are going nuts. And I think as a leader, you want to make it look easy. And I think that's a great skill that I've learned from social work is if we can take it and just have fun with it, people will come to us. They're going to come and ask you for leadership guidance. If you look like you're stressed and you look like you're about to fall apart, no one's going to come to me. So I try to make it look easy even when I may be falling apart. But I'm leading the top folks. I'm making sure our business is financially sound. That's something really important in social work. We're so mission driven, but I love to get across to everyone, yes, we're mission driven, but if we don't have the money to run the organization, we can't do all the services we need. So we have to focus on that, the key performance indicators. What are we doing? And one thing that I do is I find my social work skills come into strength all the time when I think about when I do a supervision. I never do a supervision where I'm in my office and I'm behind my desk and someone comes in because there's a power struggle there. I always want to do a supervision where I go into your office, you're behind your desk, and I'm in the little chair in front of you. So I've changed the power structure. And those are little things I learned from, social work. When you do a therapy session with a family, where does mom and dad sit? Where do the kids sit? So those little social work things come through and how we try to make it look fun and we motivate. And without my social work background, I could maybe lean a little bit too much to the business side. And I never want to do that.
Great. Thank you. Jillian?
Sure. So, like all of my colleagues so far, I have a lot to balance on a weekly basis between teaching. I'm an adjunct professor at NYU in Ramapo, seeing patients and managing a business. I also have a 1-year-old. So my very color-coded schedule basically lives its life in semesters, and my weeks are very intentionally chunked into different focus areas. So Mondays, Tuesdays, and Fridays, I'm seeing patients, whereas the rest of the week is usually filled with teaching, business management, different tasks associated with running my business. I'm incredibly strategic about where I spend my energy during my working hours, because just like in the strategic planning process, which is something you will learn if you choose this outlet, my workflow has to have direction. Because when you're managing a business or a nonprofit, you're like, again, as so many of my colleagues, you're often pulled into many different directions. So on the regular, I try not to do everything because there comes a point where if you reach for one more thing, you drop everything. And I lead my staff, I lead my clinicians, I lead my business very grounded in that same perspective. I don't pretend to have it all together. This is a tough field emotionally, just holistically speaking, regardless of whatever sector you go into. Um, I also lead with a lot of authenticity, transparency, because I think people nowadays crave authenticity far more than perfection, especially in the helping profession where burnout and overfunctioning can become badges of honor. So I've worked very, very hard with my clinicians and my business uh, to create an environment where being human is not the equivalent of also failing professionally. So I never expect anything from them that I wouldn't expect from myself. I also don't push, and I think the social work field does this, but I don't push the fantasy of a perfect work-life balance onto my staff because I'm not sure, especially as a new mom, that it truly exists. And as a leader, as someone who has worked in nonprofit development and program development and sustainability in the sexual violence prevention area, as well as human trafficking prevention area, it's really important to create environments that sustain and give people access to the practice of balance versus preaching work-life balance. There's a huge difference. So, um, yeah, I think, of course, professionalism matters, uh, but I also believe in being yourself in this field. So be warm, be funny, be charismatic, be fully yourself, laugh with your clients, laugh with your staff. This field is incredibly difficult. Like I said, levity matters. Um, yeah.
Great, thank you. Nerlandi?
I can go.
Oh,
So, oh, so a week, I would say a week in my life, at the school is anything from, many meetings, meetings with parents, meetings, for the kids' IEPs, meetings with teachers, with parents. I have to be very up to date on all the special education laws, for the IEPs and the parents' rights, et cetera. It just goes on and on. So being, having that attention to detail, when I got my MSW, it felt like, the world was mine. I didn't know what to do first. So I'm kind of dabbling in a lot of different things now and, going in different directions. The school day's over at 2. So I'm trying to, look into getting my LCSW and just doing a lot of different things. But having the attention to detail, being organized, that all really matters in, the position that I'm in, on the child study team, working with the school psychologist. And um, I think having all those things in order makes for a successful week and being called on by, the administration and just many different people to handle the kids and behaviors and just all things that happen in the school weekly. So
okay. Um, so on a day-to-day basis for me, during my day job as an LCSW at Norbit Israel, it's pretty much the same. So they really stress productivity. It's making sure that I'm seeing, as at least 5 to 7 clients a day. I think one thing that I take along with me from the math is strategic planning, where I plan my day, learn to manage everything and have a to-do list so I can stay on top of things. And as a social with a social work background coming with it, it's more like having a holistic care, not seeing just okay, it's not just therapy. I understand that I work with clients that are in a community where they deal with a slew of other challenges, whether it's immigration or, case management sometimes falls into it, even though we are supposed to focus on therapy. And I pride in the opportunity to be able to provide that, whether it's connecting them with resources in addition to provide therapy. And I'm thankful that I have the social work background that I can do that. Now at Rutgers in the evening, it's during the overnight time, it's a little bit more challenging. It's crisis. We never know what's gonna walk into the door, whether it's someone who is suicidal or dealing with other issues. So I think I'm blessed to be able to work in different aspects of social work, seeing different side, both, individual and leadership, and also managing my staff, making sure that, I'm fully staffed for the night, that they have everything they need. I get to see both sides of the coin. And I think if I didn't go for management, I only pursued LCSW route, I would not have been so well equipped to deal with both side of the coin.
Yeah, definitely. Like ever since I started with the county, not even just with the current department I'm with, but with health services too. Even though the main job is me being the overdose fatality review team coordinator, I wore different hats, and that's kind of I think for most of us in any job, like you'll be told to be this is your main job, but in one way or another, especially if you're a nonprofit, you're gonna be wearing different hats. And definitely when I was in the health department, I had to help with the clinics because this was during I joined them around the time it was the pandemic. So the clinics and making sure people were vaccinated was like top priority than anything. So I spent most of the time doing that. I also had to kind of play the social worker in case management because there's like a lot of those that were unhoused and getting them someplace to stay while they were, dealing with the virus, the COVID-19 virus. And even after that, among my main job, I had to do this. I had to be help educator. I had to help people with housing. I had to help people, get linkage to jobs. I had to help some people with housing again. And even when I went to human services, I also have other jobs where it has to wear too in terms of outreach, another program that I have to assist with, etc. And granted, it sounds like enough to like, make someone go insane nearly, but I think it's just part of like when I did my internships and had other experiences, I wore a bunch of hats too. I had to do this, do that, and around different days. Like every day was different, nearly. So I guess I was just used to it, so it never really bothered me. And also that's kind of like also kind of like the beauty that comes with the MAP program is it's really general. You can really explore different options with that. And I mean, clinical is still in a way too. That experience is very invaluable in terms of being able to help people with therapeutic means and so on and so forth. But with MAP, it gives you like a general idea of like being able to wear different hats, being a part of different programs. Um, and I guess it really just helped me, deal with all of those different jobs I had to partake in when I was with those two departments and even now.
For me, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
So for me, my work is very exciting and fast-paced. I currently work with career exploration and success here at Rutgers, and I'm overseeing a university-wide internship program. So I'm supporting 125 undergraduate students in paid nonprofit and government internships each summer. So like my clients are like my Rutgers students. And then I'm also supervising a team of 4 Rutgers students, 2 graduate coordinators, 2 undergraduate coordinators, and then overseeing a group of 8 part-time instructors who teach our summer internship course. And then I'm doing other fun things like event planning. We're taking students to local and state government field trips this summer. And then we're also developing like skill building workshops throughout the year to help students feel prepared and confident for their internships. So it's a bit of program coordination, workshop facilitation, course administration, event planning, budget management, program evaluation. So kind of what Justin's saying about like wearing a bunch of different hats. And then I think that my social work education really informs all parts of my work and how I lead. And I really resonated with what Simone was saying about thinking about like systems level thinking, grounding my work, and thinking about these really important themes of power and access. And so a lot of my work is supporting students who are just beginning their careers and ensuring that they have access to opportunities that improve their career outcomes post-graduation, and equipping them and making them feel empowered to advocate for themselves in the workplace as they start their careers, and also helping them to learn a little bit more about what they're doing in their internship sites because they're in public service and nonprofit and government placements, how their work is connecting to larger political systems and kind of where they fall in those systems and how they can make real change. And then one just quick thing, I deeply believe that micro social work and macro social work must be in communication with each other and they're informed by each other. And so, like I'm primarily doing macro social work every single day, but I'm also getting opportunities to work with my students and connect with them and find out more about them and how they're going through the program and what kind of obstacles they're facing and how I can best support them. And so I think that my work is really informed by my students, even though that's kind of like the micro piece of it, even though I'm in like a macro setting.
Great, thank you. So, in the interest of time, this will be the last question for our panel, and then we will open the floor to our audience for questions. We're going to go through this briefly. So, for students still deciding between specializations or just starting MAP, what advice would you give them to make the most of the program, whether it be inside or outside the classroom?
I could start with this one. Uh, so really, I want to. This advice is more so. It's more sort of general, just out, even just outside of MAP as a whole. I'll say this because I know a lot of times, like even people that I'm close to, like it's always been like an issue with getting started with like finding a job, getting started in the field as a whole. Just getting your foot out there. And the best way I say is to if you're able, like if you're either still in school or going back for a program or something along those lines, do not be afraid to essentially express yourself, put yourself out there as much as you can. Not just don't just rely on like, I know they say make a LinkedIn, make a good resume, which true, do that. But more than anything, you gotta express yourself. You gotta put yourself out there because the employers aren't gonna look for you. You gotta show up and show out essentially. Like don't be afraid to go to conferences. Don't be afraid to go to events. Don't be afraid to like do other stuff that's in your craft that you're interested in doing. Don't be afraid to be a part of that. Like join activities, join clubs, join programs. Like make your like get all of that experience because that's if anything I've come to realize that's what employers look at the most. Not just in terms of like what degree you got, but saying okay, you got that degree. Why should I hire you anyway? Like what else did you bring to the table? Like what have you done? What experiences do you have you could put that you could say is gonna make me want you above somebody else? You gotta say, okay, the degree, that's the first part. What else could I have to provide? And that's when, being a part of those volunteer opportunities, being a part of other programs, internships, and saying that you did this, you brought that to the table, you enhanced this. That will make you the golden child. That will make it so easy to get into this field. And then from there, once you're in, take advantage of all the experience that you can, take advantage of like events, take advantage of the people around you, partners, collaborations, all that stuff. Take advantage of everything because at the end of the day, it's not just about what you know, it's about who you know. Take advantage of everything around you. And because that's also who you know also, especially those that have been in the field for years, especially those of the older generation that's been through it all, seen it all, they are a wealth of information. Steal that, take it, ask for it, get it, because they will lead you. All of that will lead you on the path. And look, all of it is not going to be easy. It never is, especially in this field of work. Once you're in it, it's never easy. It takes an emotional tool, it takes a physical tool, mental tool, all of that. But just don't be afraid to just keep going because it's not going to be immediate, but you'll be surprised when at the end of the day, once you get to where you need to go, you'll say, huh, that wasn't so bad. And you just got to, and you'll honestly, you should be applaud yourself for getting to where you are.
I'm going to jump in quickly too, just to be piggyback on what Justin was saying. Social work is very small, even though we are different avenues, different areas, different concentrations, but it's very small. But my suggestion is that do a personal assessment. Do you find yourself helping other people, looking for information, helping family and friends, or helping yourself, going out there trying to get information, having that want or that need to help communities, to help create changes? That's basically your foundation, right? Seeing what your gut is telling you and what kind of practice you already have on your regular day to day. Based on that, you kind of have 50% already in, right? Now the other 50 is actually going into social work, right? And understanding and learning different things each class is going to give you. And you can shape exactly, oh, do you want to go into violence? Do you want to go into mental health? Do you want to go to opiates, etc.? And I do highly and highly suggest see the newsletters. Rutgers sends out a million and a tons different type of newsletters and events. I actually, with one of my classes, a Dr. Rebecca Davis, she is part of the Global Social Work program. She came into my class and was looking for students just to help out the working group on girls. And I'm like, you know what? Let me just try it out. And that opened a whole bunch of not so much doors, but the perspective. She sent out a newsletter about the day of the social work going to United Nations. I'm like, you know what? Why not? And I did it anyway. And I did not think that I can take social work to global levels. And that was like my eye opener. So when it comes to opportunities and it's a newsletter from Rutgers, take it. When it comes to conferences, local conferences, take it. When it comes to networking, I highly suggest to download an app that you can make your own personal business card, and it's easy exchange versus spending money on getting an actual physical business card. So those are small things that you can actually do right now. Then later on, you can start building in and keep on building in until you actually find your little niche. And then that's where you can actually explode into other avenues and create more fundamental and meaningful connections. Because at the end of the day, those people can actually help you or you can help them.
Great.
I
So
would
we have
actually follow on what Jasmine said. Really getting involved when when you start classes, whether you're virtual or in person. Even if you are virtual, there's ways to get involved, just to network. And I was on the National Social Work Honor Society. I did the certificate just to have an extra, specialization, violence against women and children. Getting involved, being a part of, things, meeting people, staying focused on your work, doing the best you can in classes, really trying to pay attention, and then, doing the work, doing the papers, the internships, definitely pay attention, make it a priority, to show up on time if you're in person and, take notes. I learned so much from both of my internships, and I actually am now a volunteer supervisor with Rain. I've been with them, 3 years past my internship. So, new opportunities can open up to you, even if it doesn't seem like there's one currently. Just, always stay involved and, make the most of your opportunity at Rutgers with the specialization.
I can go next. Thanks for the shout out, Adrian. So the certificate that I am running now is what Bossy used to be. We changed our name a couple of years ago. RAIN is the national sexual violence organization that serves the nation. So I think for me, when I think about this question in terms of how to decide and what advice I would give, I think I would challenge you to sort of even question sort of like the rigidity between these specializations, right? Because in practice, you're almost always doing both. Even in roles that are more clinically focused, you're navigating systems, policies, organizational dynamics. And in these more macro roles, you're also still engaging in people's lives in really direct ways. So if you're trying to decide between specializations, I would encourage you to think less about either or and more about how do you want to engage in this work? What level of intervention excites you? Where do you feel most energized? Is that working directly with individuals and families, or is it shaping programs, influencing policy, or is it some combination of all three? I think for me, MAP offered a way to zoom out and really understands the systems that I'd already been working with, but it didn't take me away from direct practice. It actually sort of deepened it. It helped me to ask better questions, advocate more effectively, and to think more strategically about like how do we actually change these systems then. And this is something I talk to my students about all the time in terms of making the most of the program. Be intentional about integrating your interests into your coursework and practicum. Don't just go through the assignments to get through them. Choose a topic or an intervention or a research project that you are really passionate about and that you could also then talk about once you graduate and you're going on these job interviews, right? Like you want to be able to talk about what you've done in your MSW program. And so be intentional about that. Use assignments as an opportunity to explore real world issues that you care about. Like some of my colleagues already said, build relationships with faculty and peers. If you have the capacity to take on a research assistantship, it's just a couple of hours a week. You get paid to do it, and you get to establish a relationship with a full-time faculty member. And those are going to open up doors for you. Um, and most importantly, give yourself permission to evolve. Your path does not have to be linear. And quite frankly, it probably won't be. At the end of the day, social work is about bridging these levels. You're not choosing one forever. You're building a skill set that will allow you to move between them in ways that are responsive to the communities and the families that you're working with. And also, just if you want to talk about these things further, because I am part of the School of Social Work, I will put my email in the chat because I'm happy. It's one of my favorite things to talk about. I love being a macro alumni and doing this work now, and so I'll go on for days and days. So here, if anybody needs to chat further.
Thank you. So real quick, we only have about 7 minutes left, so I don't want to cut off any of our panelists. But real quick, I would love to thank you all, parents, for sharing your time, experience, and valuable insights today. Your perspectives on a diverse career path available to management and policy have been both inspiring and informative. But I also want to thank everyone in the audience for joining and participating in today's discussion. We have a few minutes left, and I really want to make sure that our audience is able to ask some questions as well. So at this time, we will like to open the floor for our audience for any questions. Please type in the chat box as well. Panelists, if you could help me with those and answer those questions, it'd be greatly appreciated. I know we're looking for a few emails as well. Um, I would like to invite the panelists to share their preferred contact information, whether that's an email, LinkedIn, or another way to audience members to connect with you all if you're open to it as well. And I'll put my email as well. But I really want to find out if there's any questions from our audience.
Uh, Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. I do appreciate the insight you guys are bringing to the table. It really does help a lot. Going into this program, I think one of the biggest things for me is I'm a bit nervous in a way, going from kind of like the professional scape, outside of social work, to kind of figuring out what's next, right? You all have very like specific in a way like career paths. So I think one of the things that I kind of want to ask is, how did you discover, what you wanted to do? Did you go into the program knowing like this is what I wanted? Or was it the fact that, Rutgers provides these opportunities, you tried a few things, and then you kind of like found the route that really fit you? So the biggest thing I kind of want to ask is just like, how did you know that this is
For
what you
me,
wanted to do?
for me, I had no idea. My degree was fashion merchandising, trying to be in New York. That's it, not social work. I just so happened to land a job that needed my bilingual skills. And then from there, going to different units here and there and being exposed to different areas, I was a natural when it came to violence. I was under, at the Monmouth County Prosecutor's Office for 11 years, and I was under the Special Victims Bureau. Everything I had to do was related to violence. So from there, that's when I, had a coordinator that was like, hey, you're good at this. You're good, talking to families, understanding the case management, intertwining with multiple disciplinary team members. And I'm like, I'm just doing my job until I decided to do my own personal research. And I'm like, you know what? Let me go for it. And here I am. So that's why I say, and I suggest just do your own personal assessment. See what you do, what kind of skills you have right now that you're automatically using that can help you navigate the social work world. And when it comes to shyness, I didn't speak. I didn't dare myself to ask a question until I was 20. And now it's like, okay, move out of the way. I need to ask my question. Like, you're taking forever. So it depends on how far you want to expose yourself and how quickly. It take the time that you need because this is not a competition or rush, right? You want to know where you fit in and what type of skills you want to bring in that you're 100% comfortable in providing, because at the end of the day, this is your heart, this is your passion, this is your work ethic. So you want to make sure that you're doing something that you're passionate about.
Yeah. Rocky, I think it's a great question. I really appreciate it. There was only three things I wanted to do. One was to be an NFL player. I'm not good enough. I'm not big enough. The second was to be a lead singer of a band. If you hear me sing, you would run. And the third was working with kids. I just loved it. And it was what excited me. And I met somebody who had an MSW, and like a lot of people, I didn't even know what that was. I had a degree in accounting undergrad, and I started working with folks with head injuries, and it was overnights, and I found myself where I was so excited to do this work, and I just loved it. And then loved working with kids. And if in a perfect world where money didn't mean anything to me, I would have been a social worker. So I just went that route, and I was lucky enough to have a mom that was an artist, that wasn't all about, you got to be a doctor or a lawyer. So she supported me going for a passion, and it just was just something I was passionate about, and I just ran to it.
I would say really quick,
I
following
appreciate
up
that,
on,
guys. Thank you.
I was going to say, following up on the passion part of it, you really do have to follow your passion. And if you don't, your passion eventually finds and follows you. I got my bachelor's in 2000. I got my MSW in 2024. So, I mean, it took me a long time to realize, I chased, high money for a long time in sales and marketing, but I was never happy. I was never happy. I always felt, empty. And until I started working with special needs, which is really my forte, I mean, that's when I just said to myself, all right, where has this been for the last 20 years? Why didn't I start sooner? So once you find your passion and your niche, like everyone else was saying, it just kind of goes from there, but it takes a little bit to find that.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions?
Can I jump in?
Yes.
Oh, first of all, thank you all so much. This has just been a mind-blowing, fantastic, eye-opening meeting. And I think I came into this thinking that there was a much more hard line between pursuing clinical and pursuing MAP, and it feels like they're much more interwoven, which is very exciting to me. And it also feels like, and I'm sort of just looking for validation that to go into the program, not particularly knowing what I want to do, knowing what some of my strengths are and what I'm interested in, but just kind of keeping an open mind and letting things just sort of, for lack of a better word, marinate, because the policy end sounds fantastic to me, but I'm an actor and an acting teacher. So I've got the other skills to work clinically with people, but the big picture just sounds so exciting to me. And I was feeling for a while like if I didn't do clinical, that would preclude me from doing any of that kind of work. And it sounds like they're all interrelated.
Yes. So I can only speak for myself. I actually started as a clinical student as well when I came into the program. And I love working with students as Michael was saying. I worked with at-risk youth and youth that were in the juvenile detention facility. But I wanted to create policy and work on policy to help out those students before they got to where they were. So being a management and policy specialization, I was able to create, or I was able to, I work on a scholarship foundation. So I wanted to make sure I'm doing that, doing the mentoring programs, writing up those as well. So, that type of work helps as well. But I do have, a little bit of clinical background in working with students as well. So, it still helps you out when I'm going to be taking my LSW, my license. as well. So, you know, all of these things are great in regard, and they are interwoven as well.
I just want to quickly jump into to answer Hope's question. You can coordinate both, right? And I'm going to speak because there was a student in my class who was in the arts, and because of COVID, a lot of people in theater and film has lost their jobs. And we're talking about not just directors or writers, we're talking about camera crew, we're talking about people who organize the backstage stuff that were losing their jobs. So he was already in that environment. So he brought his degree to create now nonprofit organizations that actually help those people who were affected by COVID. And now, after COVID, about the strike, the writer's strike. So he incorporated what he loved about the theaters and the production, and just brought social work into it because again, it was uncertain what was going to happen with COVID and with the strike. So I he's phenomenal. He's in New York. He came from California and he's doing great. And that was the main reason why he entered into MAP, because he wanted to create those spaces for them because he saw the industry not having services, particularly for the arts.
Yeah. And to piggyback on that, and thank you everyone for being here today. So I think the versatility of social work is one of the beautiful things. This is one major that you can combine with almost everything. Like I'm a nurse and a social worker. I don't think I could have done both if my initial major was anything else but social work. And as during my time in supervision, I've supervised so many other students who are transitioning or trying to merge to career. We've had student who majored in communication who wanted to be journalists, and this path didn't necessarily worked out for them, and then now they coming back for their masters and going for that. I think it's okay not to know in the beginning where you want to land, what your niche is as a social worker, because as you start doing your internship or move toward the your career as a social worker, you tend to find where is your place, where you fit, where you can better serve your community.
Oh, and real quick, just to add to that, definitely what everybody said is 120% true. And also hope that's like to give you an idea of how versatile social work is. It kind of goes vice versa too, if anything else too. Because like for example, you said like you did, stuff in acting and stuff like that, and say like in social work, something also that I've come to realize that involves with is like educating the people, like giving education and stuff like that. That acting experience kind of gives you a heads up because when it comes to education and presenting material, if you really want people to get engaged, it takes more than just reading off of a slide and just saying word verbatim. Like if you're able to bring like, that pizzazz to it, that, that spirit, that energy to it, you'll be surprised how much people will be way more interested in what you're listening to. They'll be way more attentive, way more like pay full attention, ask questions, and get in, be into it. So definitely having like that experience allows you to bring like a different form of energy to, presenting education, presenting materials as a whole, or even public speaking even.
So
And
real quick, so real quick, there was a question, and I want to make sure everyone is aware of it. Um, for those that are MAP but are interested in becoming LCSWs as well, you can still get your LCSW. But if you are, so most of this of the participants that are joining us today are students that were admitted to the program. So it is important if you are interested. If you're doing the 60 credit program, you'll need to contact your advisor, same as the advanced standing students as well. But if you are an advanced standing student, you'll need to contact your supervisor, your advisor as soon as possible about, what your plans are as well. But the LCSW does require you to have a number of clinical courses. And they are built in to your program as well. So this is all important in regards to licensing as well. And you also have to look at what each state requires. So just making sure if you are interested in getting your LCSW as a MAP student, you can get your LSW and you can get your LCSW, but you may need to take extra clinical courses as well. So just want to make sure that is this understood. So just to make sure, do we have any other questions as well? This was a very great session. I look forward to doing another one in the future with everyone. We have another information session for our summer panel with Dr. Candelario. She's the MSW program director, and it's going to be Reflections from Puerto Rico. So please join us for that. It is on our MSW on our Rutgers website as well. And if you don't have any more questions for me or our panel, please feel free to email us, email me as well. And then I look forward to hearing and seeing you all, seeing your applications and seeing you all on campus as well.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you. Thank you all for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Thank
Thank
you
you
so
all very
much.
much.
Bye, guys. Good luck.
Bye.
Good luck.